On May 18, 2020, the peaceful city of Pella was rocked by a chilling discovery. It all began with a concerned neighbor's 911 call reporting a possible domestic disturbance. The neighbor described what she thought was a heated argument between a couple. As one of them rounded the corner, she saw a woman covered in blood. Alarmed, she immediately called the police. The scene was grim.
Pella Police Department.
Yeah, I live over at 21 Glenwood. I just went outside to smoke a cigarette, and it looked like a scuffle between a couple. Well, when I saw her get out of the truck, her face is just all bloody.
The officers found a body slumped in the driver's seat, surrounded by a pool of blood. The extent of the injuries was severe, and despite their best efforts to perform CPR, it was clear that it was too late.
Call a Starman ambulance. I got someone that's laying in the driver's seat of the pickup. Doesn't look like they're responding. Lots of blood. Bleeding from the hand. Really large open wound. Ma'am, are you awake? Hello?
The victim was identified as 47-year-old Tracy Mandau. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on the responding officers, knowing they had to seek justice for Tracy and bring closure to her family.
And you could see that there was a struggle. Her purse had been knocked out. Some of her personal items, her teeth, she wore dentures, were on the ground as well. And then you could barely see into the cab of the truck, but you could see immediately that there was a tremendous amount of blood.
Tracy Mandau was a resident of the Glenwood Street apartment complex in Pella, Iowa. A mother of 4, her children had grown up, started their own families, and lived separately. After her marriage ended in divorce, Tracy found herself navigating life alone. Despite her solitude, she wasn't actively seeking a new relationship. That all changed in February 2020. One day, while casually browsing Facebook, Tracy accidentally sent a friend request to a man named Nick Boat. She had intended to message a friend, but mistakenly clicked on his profile instead. To her surprise, Nick accepted the request and even sent her a message. Intrigued, Tracy decided to reply, and that simple act sparked a budding conversation between them. They talked about various topics and soon realized they shared many common interests. Their connection was immediate and strong. Before long, they exchanged phone numbers and began talking for hours every day, deepening their bond. Eventually, they decided to meet in person. Their first date was spent searching for deer antler sheds around Roberts Creek near Pella, enjoying the natural surroundings and each other's company. Nick expressed to Tracy that being with her felt like reconnecting with an old friend. Their conversations flowed effortlessly, and they enjoyed every moment together.
Remember back to March of last year, how scary the world was. The fear, the chaos, the isolation that we all felt in the early days of the pandemic. That's where Michelle was 69 days before May 18th.
Despite living in Ottumwa, Iowa, where she had grown up, Tracy eagerly drove to Pella to meet Nick. Their regular meetups became a cherished routine. Tracy's commitment and enthusiasm spoke volumes about her growing feelings for him. Soon after, Nick decided to move in with Tracy at the Glenwood apartment complex to start their new life together. Their days were filled with joy and companionship, and Tracy often visited Nick at work during his breaks. Their relationship blossomed as they navigated this new chapter, sharing moments of happiness and building a life together. But the happiness was short-lived. On that fateful day in May, Tracy's life was brutally cut short. The scene of the crime revealed signs of a violent struggle.
The confrontation took place in this alleyway behind Tracy's apartment building. Police found her slumped in her car, still buckled in her seatbelt. They observed a stab wound to her chest and lacerations to her hands, marks of a lethal struggle.
The fight was allegedly over Tracy's boyfriend, Nick Boat. He was still married to Michelle, though they were separated at the time.
Her purse and personal items were scattered around, and her dentures were found on the ground, indicating the intensity of the attack. Investigators quickly got to work, determined to uncover the truth behind Tracy's tragic death. The evidence pointed to a horrific murder, and the search for the perpetrator began. May 18, 2020 started like any other day for Tracy Mandau, who spent her lunch break visiting her boyfriend at work. Little did she know, tragedy awaited her upon returning home. As she parked outside her apartment, she was brutally murdered, her life cut short in a senseless act of violence. The shocking discovery left a gaping hole in the lives of those who knew and loved her. The investigation into Tracy's murder unfolded swiftly. Detectives found crucial evidence, a torn blue latex glove near the crime scene, suggesting the perpetrator wore gloves that were ripped off during the struggle.
Scorned, obsessed, seething. It's May 18th, 2020, and a woman by the name of Tracy Mandau maneuvers a pickup truck through the drive-thru at the Burger King in Pella, Iowa. Tracy doesn't know it, but as she squeezes that pickup truck through the narrow drive-thru lane, Tracy's being watched. Some might even say hunted. Nearby, her hunter watches through the window of a Cadillac. Her hunter is scorned, obsessed, and seething.
Inside Tracy's car, the scene was grim. Blood and signs of a fierce struggle indicated she fought desperately for her life. The focus shifted to Nick, Tracy's boyfriend, when detectives discovered the vehicle involved belonged to him. Digging deeper, they uncovered a complex web of relationships. Nick had abruptly left his previous marriage to Michelle, moving in with Tracy at the Glenwood apartment complex, where Nick and Michelle had once lived together.
It's typically what we did. She would come and bring me lunch.
Any particular reason?
So we could spend time together.
What did you do after you left Tracy?
I kissed her goodbye, and as I was walking back into the building, I waved to her and then went back into work.
Michelle's life took a downward spiral after Nick left. The COVID-19 pandemic added to her distress, causing job loss and financial strain. Desperate and emotionally shattered, Michelle's behavior turned erratic. She marked the days since Nick's departure, consumed by anguish and repeatedly trying to contact him for answers. Nick, in turn, expressed deep dissatisfaction with his marriage to Michelle, describing 2 decades of unhappiness and strained relations with their children. Michelle's anger escalated into confrontations, including a violent attempt to assault Nick at his workplace, which was halted by co-workers. Despite warnings and a no-contact order from law enforcement, Michelle's obsession intensified. She began stalking Nick and Tracy, tracking their movements and making threatening calls.
Came out of the building and got in the truck, and they ate whatever they got from Burger King. I'm assuming is what they ate, because they ate. And then he turned to her and he kissed her. And then he kissed her again. He was hitting me and hitting me and hitting me. And I had my hands up. She's yelling at me. And I just snapped, and I grabbed the knife, and I just stabbed her, and I dropped the knife.
Her actions created a volatile atmosphere, culminating in multiple violations of the court order, further escalating fear and tension. The investigation reviewed CCTV footage from the Glenwood apartment complex to Nick's workplace, piecing together Michelle's movements and escalating behavior. This chilling sequence of events underscored the tragic consequences of unresolved emotions and unchecked obsession. The case highlighted the complexities of human relationships and the devastating impact of uncontrolled emotions. It serves as a poignant reminder of how conflicts and emotional turmoil can lead to irreversible tragedy. The events leading to Tracy's untimely death were meticulously captured by surveillance cameras, painting a haunting picture of obsession and fatal consequences. Michelle, Nick's estranged wife, became a central figure in this chilling narrative.
Michelle, why did you have a knife in your car? Because my husband was always my protector and I was scared when he left. I was scared.
If she had not planned to attack Tracy with the knife, why had she continued to struggle with her? Tracy was found still wearing her seatbelt. To end the altercation, the only thing Michelle needed to do was take one step backwards.
I don't know. It was a struggle. We were having a tussle, a struggle, a fight,
And then you chose to stab her, right?
Yes, I snapped. I snapped. And I stabbed her, yes.
And then you stepped back, right?
Her attempts to cover up evidence after the crime were done in a panic, she said. Michelle testified that she had hidden the knife used to kill Tracy under her bathroom sink. She had not divulged its location to the police when questioned, nor had she admitted any responsibility at that time.
They asked you questions.
Yes.
You denied knowing anything about Tracy's killing.
Yes, I did.
They asked you multiple times to tell them your side of the story, right?
Yes.
And then the police tell you Tracy has been hurt seriously, right?
Yes, yes.
And your response was, God works in mysterious ways, doesn't he?
Yes, I said that.
The footage revealed Michelle's persistent stalking, tracing Tracy's every move with unsettling determination. On that fateful evening, CCTV footage tracked Michelle across town as she shadowed Tracy's vehicle. At 6:57 p.m., cameras at Culver's restaurant caught Michelle nearby, strategically positioning herself near a laundromat where Tracy's truck was parked. This calculated move placed Michelle at the scene moments before the tragedy unfolded. With eerie precision, Michelle continued her pursuit as Tracy innocently stopped at a Burger King drive-thru at 7:19 p.m. Despite the empty parking lot, Michelle discreetly parked behind another vehicle, masking her intent to remain unnoticed. Surveillance footage near the restaurant captured Michelle briefly leaving her car, adding a sinister layer to her already suspicious behavior. Tracy, unaware of the danger looming behind her, proceeded to Nick's workplace. The evening took a dark turn as Nick and Tracy shared a meal in her truck. Oblivious to Michelle's proximity, they discussed their evening plans before Nick returned to work, leaving Tracy vulnerable. Minutes passed before tragedy struck. As Tracy returned home, Michelle followed, her actions veiled in chilling intent. The subsequent investigation unearthed damning evidence at Michelle's residence, leading to her arrest.
When exiting the lot, the red truck drives directly past where Michelle is sitting, watching. It is unclear if Michelle ducked out of view inside her car when Tracy passed, but she remains unnoticed. Tracy's next stop was Vermeer, where Nick Boat was working the 3 to 11 shift. She is shown driving in with the Burger King dinner, followed roughly 20 seconds later by Michelle.
The judicial process, commencing in May 2021, meticulously pieced together the events that culminated in Tracy's death. During the trial, Michelle's defense sought to portray her actions as impulsive, a momentary lapse driven by emotional turmoil. Yet, the prosecution presented a compelling case, supported by forensic evidence and witness testimonies, painting a stark reality of premeditated intent. Michelle's testimony, marked by personal anguish and regret, recounted her shattered life following Nick's departure. Her account, although emotional, conflicted with the stark evidence pointing to a calculated crime of passion.
2 questions.
Yes.
You denied knowing anything about Tracy's killing.
Yes, I did.
They asked you multiple times to tell them your side of the story, right?
Yes.
And then the police tell you Tracy has been hurt seriously, right?
Yes.
And your response was, God works in mysterious ways, doesn't he?
Yes, I said that.
As the community mourned Tracy's loss, her story became a haunting reminder of lives forever altered by a single moment of unchecked obsession. In the serene community of Pella, Iowa, tragedy struck on a seemingly ordinary day, revealing the chilling consequences of unresolved emotions and obsessive behavior. This is the harrowing tale of Michelle Boat and the events leading to the brutal murder of Tracy Mandau. Michelle's life took a tumultuous turn when her husband Nick abruptly left her, sparking a whirlwind of emotions. As Nick started a new life with Tracy, Michelle found herself grappling with overwhelming despair. Living in the same apartment complex where she and Nick once shared newlywed bliss only intensified her anguish.
The prosecution emphasized that Michelle Boat had countless opportunities on the evening of May 18th to change her behavior, to stop what she was doing, and simply go home. They painted her as a hunter, stalking her prey until the moment of attack. She had mapped out the murder as her revenge. Conversely, the defense pointed to how poorly planned the murder actually was. The necklace on the windshield, blood spatter on the vehicle, and evidence at the scene directly linked the crime to Michelle. In addition, there were 2 eyewitnesses at the complex who overheard the argument and viewed parts of the exchange. This was not an example of a meticulously planned murder. It simply could not have been premeditated, as the state argued.
The catalysts that led to Michelle's descent into darkness were seemingly innocuous. A familiar scent of cigarette smoke in Nick's truck, a reminder of their shared sacrifices to afford that very vehicle now driven by Tracy. These triggers, combined with Michelle's mounting emotional turmoil, pushed her fragile psyche to its breaking point. During her trial, Michelle explained the tools found in her car as precautions for self-defense in the wake of Nick's departure. A knife kept within arm's reach on a small stool by her bed, a constant reminder of her vulnerability. Yet, critical details emerged that cast doubt on Michelle's narrative. Tracy was found still wearing her seatbelt when fatally stabbed, a detail contradicting Michelle's claim of a physical altercation initiated by Tracy. This inconsistency suggested a calculated act of violence rather than spontaneous self-defense.
Ms. Boat, I'll have you stand and listen to the reading of the verdict. In the matter of the state of Iowa versus Michelle Lee Boat, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree, verdict form number 1. Is that your verdict, members of the jury?
Yes, sir.
So say all.
The prosecution painted a stark picture of Michelle's actions as those of a hunter stalking her prey, meticulously following Tracy, waiting for the opportune moment, and then ruthlessly attacking. It was not a crime of passion, but a premeditated murder fueled by revenge and obsession. The jury deliberated briefly, their verdict swift and unequivocal. Michelle Boat was guilty of first-degree murder. On July 1st, 2021, she was sentenced to life in prison without parole, her age of 56 reflecting the severity of her crime and the court's commitment to justice for Tracy Mandau.
Back to March of last year, how scary the world was. The fear, the chaos, the isolation that we all felt in the early days of the pandemic. That's where Michelle was 69 days before May 18th.
Years later, Michelle appealed her conviction, citing juror bias, but her plea was denied. The case sparked widespread discussion on the consequences of unresolved emotions and the tragic loss of an innocent life caught in the crossfire of marital discord. Many questioned Nick's abrupt departure without clear communication, pondering whether open dialogue could have diffused the escalating tensions and prevented the ensuing tragedy. Tracy's family, meanwhile, mourned her loss, remembering her kindness and strength amid the heartbreak. In the end, justice prevailed. Michelle Boat was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to face the consequences of her irreversible actions. The trial not only underscored the fragility of human emotions, but also served as a stark reminder of the profound impact of obsession and unchecked emotions. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, press the subscribe button, and also drop your thoughts in the comment section.